Hello and welcome, it's Shanna, and today we're going to be working with our press and foil of the month from Spellbinders, and we're going to be bringing in some mixed media. We're going to have some foil and some press ink, and we have got the Boo Humbug press and foil of the month for August 2026, and we have got this cute little ghost with his angry little shadow, and we've got some fun sentiments. We have Boo, now leave me alone. I tried to be nice, it was terrifying, and boo humbug. And so we've got the press and foil plate, and then we've also got a couple of cutting dies in there. Actually, we've got 4. And then you've got the registration plate that you can use to help line up everything that you're going to work with. And we're going to actually do both foiling and pressing today on our video. A lot of times when I work with this club for the month, I'll just do one option or the other. But today I just decided to do both. I've got black foil, and then they did include this Better Press black ink in with the subscription for the month. And so we're going to use it. And I'm just going to bring in my glimmer machine, and we are going to get to foiling on this. So I cleaned up my desk, got everything out of the way, got the glimmer on, and it is heated up. You can see the green light is on, and I'm just going to get my pieces laid down on there, and then we will get to foiling this. And for this one, I'm going to choose the sentiment, I tried to be nice, but it was terrifying. I think that's pretty funny. And I'm just going to lay it right down here. I'm trying to position it to where I will have room for my little sentiment and then my little ghost off to the other side. And I'm just going to bring in some black glimmer foil. This is Spellbinders, and I'll just lay it down on there. And then we're going to bring in a card panel. I'm going to bring in an A2 size card panel, and I tried to pay attention to what line I laid the ghost on so that I could line my A2 panel up. It won't matter because I am going to cut it down. We're going to do a lot of things with these panels today, but I'm going to turn it on. We're going to let it heat up, and I went off camera and was doing my die cutting. And so now you can see that light is green, solid green, and so we are going to run it through the Spellbinders Platinum 6. Now, I did get word that I've got the new Glimmer 2 coming, so it'll be fun. That's going to be something new that's going to be coming out from Spellbinders. I know you may have heard a little bit about it already. I've heard some chatter about it out in the crafty community, but mine is set to arrive, I think, next month is when I'll get it. So anyway, I've got my foil on here, and I'm just going to give it a reveal. And we'll just pull it off. And I don't know whether it was my cardstock or the foil or what, but it's just a little bit spotty. I'm going to bring my tweezers in, and you can see it's a little spotty, and I'm a little off to the side, but I plan on cutting this down to 3 3/4 by 5 anyway, so it'll work out just fine. And I don't mind the spottiness because we have plans to splatter this up really well and make a really fun, spooky Halloween card. So I'll just cut, I'm kind of off to one side, so I'm just going to take this down to 3 3/4, and then we'll take the other side down to 5. And then we've kind of brought our scene in a little bit, and we're going to have a nice little frame around it when we get finished with our card. So I'm deciding to take most of it off the bottom, but I want to take a smidge off the top. So this is why I'm wiggling it around on here. I'm trying to get just 1/8 of an inch that I'm going to take off the top. And so I was just trying to get it lined up where I want it. And we're just going to run this blade on there and cut it down. And there we go. We've got it more centered, and it looks a little bit better down at that 3 3/4 by 5. So I'm going to bring in my splatter box, and we're going to get to splattering on this. I am using, this is a Tupperware dish that used to have 3 inserts for deviled eggs, and somehow those inserts ran off. I have since then bought another deviled egg container because I make deviled eggs all the time. In fact, I have multiples because I make so many when we have our family dinners. And I thought, you know what, I never use this, and it is in my cabinet. in the way, and I thought, I'm taking it into the craft room and I'm going to use this for my splatter box. Now I think I need something a little bit deeper because I am a wild splatterer. I think I said last time that I realized you kind of have to splatter lower than where you go because it seems to fly higher, and therefore got all over my computer. But anyway, I had a little better luck this time splattering. I'm also bringing in some silver watercolor from Spellbinders, and I've added some water to it, and I'm going to splatter this up. Now we're going to go through this process twice because we're going to make two very similar panels, because we're going to do the foil and then we're going to do the press one. So you're going to get to see me do this twice, but I did speed it up a little bit so that it wouldn't take forever. And then I've got this panel all splattered, and so now we're just going to lay it aside and we're going to work on something else while it is drying. So I've got my Better Press platen here, and I've already got some, I'm using some watercolor cardstock there, and I find that it presses very nice. If you don't have Spellbinders cotton, you can use some watercolor and it works very well. Now for this one I want to use a different sentiment, so I'm going to choose Boo, Now Leave Me Alone, and I'm going to get it laid down on there, and I need to get it in the right direction. And then we're going to bring in that Better Press black ink, and we are going to get it inked up. I'm just showing you the watercolor paper there, and I've got some washi tape just holding it on. I've got it lined up on the A2 marks on the platen, and I'm just opening up this Better Press ink. Now I have other ones. I have minis and I have larges, but this did come in it, and I thought, you know what, I'm just going to open it up and use a fresh juicy one. And I like to press and turn when I ink these up. You get the best coverage when you press and turn. And so that's what I'm going to do. And I'm getting a little bit messy on the platen, and the reason is I've got some packaging on there to keep that platen clean, and it's not really very tight, and so I've got some raised edges, and I didn't get it cleaned very well at the bottom, and I will have a little bit of over pressing on there, but it's not going to matter. You will not notice it when we get done with everything we're going to do with the card. So I'm telling you, crafting is not perfect. It's handmade. So I'm going to just run it through my die cutting machine. Now when I do Better Press, I don't mind a backward and forward motion. When I foil, I usually go only in one direction, but when I Better Press, I'll go forward and backward. If you have heavy cardstock, you can do that. If you've got thin stuff, it'll probably poke a hole in it, but you can see the overfoiling that is from the ink that was on there, but I'm not going to worry because we're actually going to ink blend this, and then we're going to splatter it. Now because I've used white watercolor cardstock, I'm going to kind of grunge it up with my black soot blending brush. I do actually kind of like how the white really made his teeth very white. Now I used the fog cardstock for the other one, and so the teeth were kind of gray. I think it makes the teeth really pop on this. And I do leave a little bit of white showing there. Now I'm doing the same thing. I'm going to cut this one down. I was a little better centered on this one, but I'm still going to take it down to 3 3/4 by 5 and then reblend on the sides that I cut off. And then we've got our panel. And so now we're just ready to splatter this one up just like we did the last one. I've got the black splatter from Spellbinders. It's kind of like a fingernail polish bottle. And I'm just dipping it in there and trying to splatter it as much as I can. And I did speed it up because I spent a good amount of time splattering. I'm still trying to master this technique. I've got my silver, and this is a sparkle watercolor. Once I get it wet and I splatter it and it dries, then you've got some shimmer to it. So it adds a nice little shimmer. And I'm just going to put some of this down on there and just get it splattered up just like we did our other panel. And this is fun. I don't do a lot of mixed media very much, but it is very fun and just kind of playful. So I'm tapping it on my finger, tapping it on the side of the box, just trying to get as much down there as I want. And then I'm going to clean up, and we're going to lay this one aside, and we're going to give it time to dry as well. So we've got the two of them. You can see they're very similar. You can see a little bit more white and a little darker on the pressed one. And now I've got my die cut pieces. I die cut 2 ghosts out and 2 sets of arms and 2 backers for their mouths. And then I did their cheeks and their tongue. And I actually have a heavy duty, it's actually poster board scraps that I have from a project that I'm layering on the back of them just to give them a little bit more substance and make them a little thicker. And so I just put some poster board on the back of it. I use some mirror black cardstock from Spellbinders for their mouth, so it's got a little shine to it. And I'm just going to layer the other one up on that poster board so that we've got some thickness there. And then I'm going to layer their arms up in the same way. I use the poster board again. And then for the mouth and the cheeks and everything, it's just one layer. So I'll just get them laid down on there. And I've got a little bit of glue on there. And we've just kind of got the black mouth. Now this, I have 2 pieces of washi tape, and I've got 2 cheeks and a tongue on one, and then I've got another piece of tape, and I have the other 2 cheeks and the other tongue on it. And I'm just going to get them laid down on here. I just put a teeny little dot of glue on there, and then we'll add the tongues, and we'll just do that. So today was the first day of school in our area, and Westy started school. Gunnar he doesn't start until next week, so he got to hang out with Nana today, and we had a very, very quiet day. We had fun. I did take him to the park. He was able to ride his bike. We actually went to the ice cream shop in town and got some ice cream, and he took a good nap, and it was a pretty quiet day. So I'm going to get the tongues laid down on both of these. That one got away from me. I had to find it. And they're just teeny tiny pieces, just trying to get them positioned in there. We'll get these arms layered up, and then we will begin building our 2 cards. And the arms are very different. One's kind of long and the other one's kind of bent a little bit. And so you just want to get, because I'm layering them, just make sure I get the right ones on the right ones. The weather was actually beautiful today, sunny and warm, but not too hot. And it was just a really lovely day. Nice to be out and in the park and just kind of running around, riding around town, seeing what's going on. So I'm just getting these little pieces put together, and we've got 1 set of arms there. And then we're going to do the other, kind of the shorter, more bent arm, and we'll get them assembled. Super cute and fun to get both, the press and foil plates, and then also a coordinating die that goes with it to create this little shadow look. So a fun set. You could use this die by itself if you weren't in the mood to press or foil. You could use the little die and create some fun little scenes with that as well. So we've got our panels here, and I'm going to wait to lay the arms down until I get it positioned, because you're trying to make a shadow here, and so you want to kind of try and line it up a little bit. Of course, it doesn't have to be perfect, but you can get it in the general location, and I think it'll look nice. So I'm just going to kind of dry fit it and see how I want to do it. And we'll just kind of lay it in there. I got a little close to the edge, so I wanted to position it pretty carefully, but it'll work out just fine. And so this is kind of what I'm going for on this one. And I'm like, well, now I have it positioned how I want it. Now, how am I going to do this? So I'll just move my little ghost, and then I'm just going to pick the arms up one by one and try and lay them back down in the same general spot. Just double checking. And so we'll get some glue on here, and I'm just going to try and eyeball it. I'm sure it's not going to be exact, but just try and get it in the same general area so that it looks like, we're creating a shadow. An angry shadow at that, or a scary shadow at that, I should say. And we'll get that little arm laid down on there, and then we're going to get our ghost, and I'm trying to lay the bottom of him up with the bottom of the shadow. I'm going to move the arm a little bit. I felt like it needed to be just a little bit higher and tucked in a little bit more. And then we'll put our ghost down on there. And I think this one I just add a foam square to it, and then we'll get it laid down on there. Because I had that extra piece on the back where the mouth was, I decided to just put a foam square at the bottom and then one at the top, because we've got a little bit of a layer there that I think will help support it. And then we'll just line this up and get it laid down on there. So fun set. I have got more Halloween cards this year than what I have grandkids, so I'm going to have to branch out a little bit and figure out what I'm going to do with the rest of these little Halloween cards. I usually send them to my grandkids and then my sister's grandkids. And so, but I have more than that, so I'll have to find some other recipients of these Halloween cards. So I'm going to line this one up. This one I do a little different. This one I lay down, and I thought, well, I use those foam pieces I can tuck I'll have room to tuck them. So I went ahead and laid the ghost down, and then we'll tuck the arms on this one. And so we'll just put some glue on there, and I can just position them how I want them. And we'll get them laid down on there. I'm going to keep the rest of the card very simple. We're just going to bring in some colored cardstock for a layer, and then we'll get them laid down on some card bases, and we're going to keep it really simple. I'm not going to add any other embellishments. We've got all of that splatter and the shine from the watercolor, the silver watercolor. I think we don't really need anything else. So I'm going to choose some cardstock. I'm going to bring in Raven. I had a Raven panel. I was working with a panel earlier. I foiled one, and which I'll bring it in and show it to you. And I got that kind of speckled foil look on it as well. And so I thought, well, I'll try again. And I got the same look, and I'm going to show you that here in a minute. But I had a black panel laying out with the one that I had previously done, and so I'm just going to bring it and lay it down on there. And then we'll bring in a gray panel for our other card just to have a little bit of a different look. And you can see the shine from the foil on there and the sparkle from the splatter. And then I've got some anchor cardstock here, and I actually had pressed, I don't know what I was doing, but I went to press it and I had it upside down on the die or something, and I actually have our little background ghost pressed into that. And so accidents happen. You don't always get it right. But I'm going to use it. I'm going to use it for a background panel. And I realized when I did that, I was like, I wasn't even wanting to use that dark cardstock for this anyway. So it was kind of like a happy little accident. And I thought, well, I can just layer it on the back of this one. And I haven't lost the use of an A2 size Spellbinders panel there. And I just brought in my big roll of foam tape, and we're just going to lay that down on there. I thought I'd pop this one up and create a shadow with the layer in addition to the shadow of our ghost. And it'll be just slightly different than the other one. And you can see the impression of the ghost on there. And I was trying to decide which way I had pressed it because I want to have the nice edge up. So I flipped it over. I'm going to lay this down, and we're going to have two versions of it. We've got the pressed on the gray, and then we've got the foiled on the black. I like them. I think they're super fun. It was fun really using the mixed media and kind of playing around and getting a little bit messy. So this one's going to line up perfectly. I'll get some glue on here, and this is a top folding card base. And evidently I cut it correctly, but my next one's going to be off a little bit, and I'll have to trim it down. So I'm putting some blobs. If you can get some bigger blobs rather than some really thin lines, you have more movability to lay your card down on your card base, and that way you can straighten it up if you need to. That actually went down on there fairly nice. And so we're going to do the same thing with our gray. This is going to be the top folding. The other one was side folding, I guess. And we'll just blob some glue on there as well. And then we'll get it laid down on our card panel. And then I'll realize that it's a little bit long, and so I'll have to go off camera and just trim it down. So I've got some tacos cooking now as I'm doing this voiceover, so I'm going to have to run in there and check my taco meat and see how it's doing. And then we're going to have some tacos for dinner. You can see the white edge on the bottom of the card. I'll get the side straightened up here. And then we've got that white edge, and I'm just going to go off camera. I'm going to use my guillotine and cut that off, and we'll have a nice edge on there. And then that'll finish off our two cards. Here's the foiled one with the black raven background, and then this is the gray with the anchor, and it is pressed. And here's the one I did, and it was a little spotty too, but I went through all of it with that, and then I thought, well, I'll try again, but I kind of got the same result. So anyway, those are our two cards. I've taken some pictures. I hope you enjoyed this. If you enjoy this type of content, I've got a playlist linked. You can see more.